Hi, my name's Pilvi and welcome to Morbid History, where we go through the macabre and crazy and dark events from our past. Usually in a bit of a jaunty ramble, because I like to ramble. I am your stressed and depressed little hermit here for you, and today we're going to Williamston, Michigan in the late 1800s, and the case that is actually called Michigan's own Lizzie Borden. I can take a wild stab in the dark and just assume it has something to do with all that axe wielding. We also have a head on a plate. So let's get to it.
Every job must be carefully analyzed.
April 1897, in the small town of Williamston, Michigan. A man in his 30s called Alfred, known by everyone as quite a cheerful and upbeat man, was walking down the street. While walking, he saw a face he recognized. It was the doctor. Alfred suddenly just came up with a great idea. The thing was that Alfred was married to a woman called Martha. Martha wasn't an ordinary woman, and everyone in town knew that she was suffering from some kind of mental illness. She was known to be like walking around, staring into space, standing in her backyard, throwing about a big wooden spoon and singing songs, usually Christian psalms and stuff like that, in inappropriate moments. Nonetheless, Alfred had been feeling that his wife, of only 3 years at this point, was just getting a bit worse and worse. So he went up to the doctor and asked if he could get a little time with him where he could talk to his wife and see if there was anything they could do. Well, the doctor, he knew who Martha was. He had seen her, as had everyone else. He said, yeah, well, come by tomorrow in the morning, I think. They got a time in the morning to go and see the doctor. Alfred thanked him and went on his merry way home. He was a poor man. He lived together with his widowed mother. Her name was Mariah and she was 80. Very old for the late 1800s. I mean, this was the year 1897. People usually did not live that long. Her husband had died, I think, 40 years prior, so she had been alone for quite a while, and once she got older, she moved in with her son, Alfred, and his wife, Martha. Either way, Alfred came home, and at the dinner table, he told his wife, albeit he was a bit scared to tell her, that he had booked an appointment with the doctor. Martha put down her cutlery and stared blankly at Alfred, as she usually did, and just said, "Why, there's nothing wrong with me." Mariah, the mother, saw this as a good opportunity to just say that she was done and leave the table, because a fight would ensue. Martha, Alfred's wife, not only was she known to be staring into space, dancing around with wooden spoons, and also talking to people who weren't there, especially her long past mother. She would be talking to her. She also had temper tantrums. She would get angry at just about everything. Mariah knew this and removed herself from the situation. Alfred and Mariah had a row that lasted until bedtime. Fun times. We also need to take note that this family of 3 was not a wealthy family. They were known as paupers around their little town. They actually lived in a little house, shack, and it was situated by a railroad track and also very close to a factory. The factory workers were all too well acquainted with the arguments going around in the Haney household. Usually, these arguments were at their worst when Alfred was at work doing odd jobs and only Mariah and her daughter-in-law Martha were home. They would bicker and argue, and they just despised each other. Some say because Martha knew that Mariah was against them getting married in the first place. She thought that Martha was a real weird one, with good cause. Being mentally unstable and ill during this time, the late 1800s, and if you didn't have any people who could actually take care of you properly.
Sweden, yes, very good English, yes.
If people couldn't take care of you properly, you would be sent to an asylum and be treated terribly there for the rest of your life. I mean, Martha was just lucky that she had Alfred, who was so much in love with her that he was kind enough to look past all her quirkiness. Which is likely why Martha got upset hearing about the doctor's appointment. She must have been very scared to be put in a loony asylum. That sounds, should you even say loony? Into an asylum for the unwell in the brain. I mean, you put everyone there, so why wouldn't you put the person who talks to ghosts and stares into space for hours there? Going to that doctor would be more or less a straight path to getting locked up. Either way, the next day, the 23rd of April, Alfred Haney woke up and he made sure to remind his wife Martha of the appointment that they were going to. He found Martha in the kitchen doing kitchen-y things. The weird part was that she looked happy. She was smiling. He had not seen his wife smile like this ever. Martha looked at him and she just said, "We don't need to go today, I'm feeling much better."
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
She told Alfred that since he had work that day, it was better if he went and actually got that money cash, and that they could go to the doctor during the weekend instead. Alfred, confused and enthused about the happiness, it seemed like, of his wife, he agreed. What a great idea! I'll go make some money today and we'll go to the doctor later. Everything's fine and dandy, he thought, and he left for his odd job, leaving his mother, Mariah, Haney, and Martha alone at home as usual. This day, though, would end extremely terribly. The hours went, and Alfred was supposed to come home for lunch, as he usually did. Yeah, so he came home to get some lunch with his mother and his wife. Hopefully they were not chewing each other out and everything was nice. Well, Martha seemed happy in the morning, so a good omen. Alfred opened the door. He could already feel a weird smell. It was a bit smoky. He looked down on the floor and saw piles and piles of blood. He walked in the direction of all this blood and followed it until he came upon the charred remains of a dearly departed person, which he could see was a woman. He could also tell that the woman did not have a head on. He peeked quickly into the kitchen, and what he saw there, no one would want to see it, I assure you. He saw a table stocked with food, potatoes, vegetables, and as a centerpiece, there lay the head of his dearly departed elderly mother, staring straight at him. Cutlery, a fork and a knife, neatly placed next to it. After getting a good look at this macabre dinner party, he ran out in hysterics. The factory workers, who were very jaded against everything happening in that house, well, they weren't at all accustomed to seeing this Alfred being in this state. He was usually just such a charming and happy man, so they realized something was up. They went there. A bunch of the factory workers just came over and looked into the house, and they could see smoke. So their first rationale around the thing was that it was a fire in there that had caused Alfred to go bonkers. So they got a bunch of water and ran in and threw water everywhere. Until they realized that there was indeed a cancelled person lying there without a head. It was time to call the authorities. The authorities came by and they quickly summarized what we had already gone through here. They found the body, they found the head and the whole macabre scene, and now even a bunch of water everywhere. The other thing that they would find was Martha in the backyard in only her underwear, digging a hole in the mud ground with her bare hands. The factory workers said that they had indeed seen a fight going on between Mariah and Martha during that day, but they hadn't paid much attention because they were so used to it. It was more or less that they would say, "Ah, there she goes again," or "there they go again." Nothing new, and they had heard them arguing. They had seen that at some point Mariah had locked Martha out of the house, and then Martha had been running around searching for something, but by then they had lost interest and stopped watching. The police quickly took Martha and placed her in custody. But not before she had entered the house again and sat down and started peeling off the wallpaper. Either way, when she was in her cell, the police started questioning what had happened. They gathered that during the day they had had their usual argument. It had all started over Martha taking out a picture out of a frame. In this frame was a picture of Mariah's late husband. Mariah had gotten angry and pushed Martha. Martha had then decided that she had to exterminate Mariah. She hadn't come up with that idea alone. No, it was her mother telling her she had to kill Mariah before Mariah killed her. And she told the cops very firmly she didn't do it to be mean. That's nice. After they had started arguing, and after Mariah had pushed Martha, and Martha's mom had told her to do the deed, the argument just got worse and worse, and at some point Mariah locked Martha out. But that was when Martha went and found herself an axe and chopped her way into the house. And with that axe, she promptly went and chopped her way at Mariah. At some point, the axe even got stuck in Mariah, and Martha had to stand on top and like place her foot on her to loosen it and get it out of her before taking the upper part of her off. She then poured some kerosene on the body, put it ablaze, and did the thing with her head, placed it so that Alfred would be able to look into his mother's eyes when he came home. A jolly good time if I ever knew one.
Oh shit, should I be joking at a time like this?
Piecing all that together, they simply asked her, did you cancel the life subscription of your mother-in-law? And to that, she calmly responded, I don't know, I might. I killed her anyway, and then I got on her with my feet and jumped on her as hard as I could. Yes, I did. My mother told me to kill her. Then, apparently, she just turned catatonic, her eyes were black, she stared into nothingness, and yeah, they left her there for a while, because they had to mentally evaluate her, of course. Some of the cops said that she would sit in there and sing songs. One of them were something I guess she came up with herself. That went, oh, I can't go to heaven. To hell I must go. Murderers don't go to heaven, and that's where I'm bound to go. Either way, she was, of course, sentenced. She was very much deemed to be the culprit, but mentally insane. So they sent her to the insane asylum. More specifically, Michigan's insane asylum for the criminally insane. She didn't stay there long though, because just a year after she would succumb to tuberculosis at the age of 33. The house in which this all happened actually stood until 1990, when it was finally taken down. Alfred remarried and had children. Nothing spectacular there. Guess he was traumatized for the rest of his life. I think we can agree that they were all three victims. Martha was quite obviously what we today would call schizophrenic. It's something that gets worse and worse usually when you turn around 30, so she would have gotten help today, hopefully. But most of all, rest in peace, poor Mariah. I mean, just think of it. Getting to 80, which is ancient in those times, just to be taken out in this terrible manner. Either way, let me know your thoughts on this case down below. I'd love to hear them. And I usually reply to all my comments. It might take a while, but I try my absolute hardest. I love to get feedback since I put a lot of work in. I'm also getting so close to 2K, which is my milestone, my goal for now, you know, so please help with the algorithm boost, like, comment, hit the bell, very important, and if you're not subscribed,
shit's all fucked up. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
It doesn't hurt. Thanks to all my lovely patrons, you're my heroes. I can't thank you enough. My financial situation is not a very good one. Being an autistic, low-function hermit who doesn't leave my apartment, your help over there is what gets me to be able to use my editing software and everything else that I need to keep this channel running, so thank you so much. I also post at least every week a Patreon exclusive video. I'm gonna record one right after this one, and yeah, thank you. You're my heroes. Either way, stay amazing, stay hydrated, and most of all, stay morbid. And I'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye!